We're all. Okay. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. Those were words from Maya Angelou, and this is the Inspired Poetry Corner. Welcome one and all. Welcome, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, for whatever part of the world you are in. Welcome to the June rendition of the Inspired Poetry Corner. This is a monthly recital, a poetic celebration. And today we get to celebrate the poetry and the words of the great Karen Scott, the great Scott. So, but before we get into Karen, I just wanted to welcome you all. I hope you're all doing well. You know, I got up on the right side of the dirt this morning, so that's a good thing, right? Any day you're on the right side of the dirt is a good day. A great day now is depending on what I choose to do with it. So I hope you're well wherever you are. I hope all is well with you and your family and your loved ones and in your part of the world. And just a reminder that the Inspired Poetry Corner is not an open mic. I will be posting the list of performers that are coming to support Karen, that I affectionately call the Not Ready for Prime Time poets. It's a play on word because you're all prime time. It's a moniker I stole from the old Saturday Night Live, when Saturday Night Live was still good. They used to call them the Not Ready for Prime Time players. So that's where I got that from. So we have a list of, I believe, 15 people that are supporting Karen, and Karen Scott is our feature today. So buckle your seatbelts. We'll be flying at an altitude of 35,000 feet. There will be no refreshments served, so please, please make sure you have your refreshments, whatever you choose to drink. Buckle your seatbelts, sit back, let's have fun and enjoy each other. We're here today to support each other and to celebrate our life and our existence in this moment, in this now, in the use and how we use poetry. So this is how we're going to roll today. And for the supporting poets, you have up to 5 minutes to recite. You don't have to use the 5 minutes. Some people just want to do one piece, but that's up to you. I do not censor. I just tell everyone, we're all adults here. We all know how to play in the sandbox. I'm going to trust the adults. If I feel someone is not being respectful, I will step in and say something. Like I said, I don't believe in absolute anything. I believe in responsible freedoms and responsibilities. So I treat this show as my house. You are always welcome to come into my home. I don't care what your views are, but if you're disrespectful, I will respectfully and lovingly ask you to leave. That makes sense? So, all right. We're here today to celebrate Karen Scott. So let me just tell you a little bit before I bring up our feature. Karen Scott is a poet living in Columbus, Ohio. She is a member, a supporter of the Ohio Poetry Association, a past participant in the Women of Appalachia project, and a proud member of the Salon Writing Group. Her work has been published in Common Threads, an annual OPA members anthology, Women Speak, Women of Appalachia, I believe, I hope I'm saying that properly, anthology, a delirious, a poetic celebration of Prince, the inaugural issue of the Northern Appalachia Review. She's been included in the following anthologies: The American Graveyard, which I believe just came out earlier this year. It's a book put out by Marissa Prada, the Red and Green Books, the Dead Pets Poet Anthology, the final issue of the Pudding magazine. 2 of her poems have been published on the Moontide Press website as Poet of the Month for August of 2022. I first came across Karen, I can't remember which show, I think it was a show out west, or maybe it was Cultivating Voices, I can't remember. But I just remember falling in love with her voice and just her messaging. And we've had a number of conversations since then, so I always look forward to talking with her. And you know, I'm a bit selfish. I like to feature poets that I want to hear and listen to. So, this is why I'm always looking to connect with people and creating a spotlight. I think we're all a deserving somewhere along our line to be spotlighted and to be able to showcase our brilliance. And I'm just one vehicle. There are many great vehicles. I mean, Richard has Poets of the East, and David has Spoken Word Online, and there's so many great things. So anytime we can have vehicles where we can spotlight people and give them an opportunity to shine, I think it's something that we should support. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to spotlight this woman, because her voice, I think, is a voice that needs to be heard by many. And I think she has something of value to offer. Yes, I'm saying good things about you, Karen. Just sit there and take it. Just sit there and take it, because you're worthy of it. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, for the Inspired Poetry Corner for the month of June, I'd like to welcome to the mic our feature, Karen Scott.
I'm loving looking over here in the corner at the chat. Thank you, everybody. By the way, Raleigh, it's Appalachia. And
Appalachia, okay.
The way to remember it is, if you say Appalachia, I will throw an Appalachia. That's how they corrected me.
Well, I don't want apples thrown at me, so I'll say Appalachia.
Yeah.
Thank you for
then I could go on to tell you it depends on which part of the Appalachian chain you're on as to how it's said. So we'll get out of that conversation. Sometimes my set list is like, I just throw the poems in the air and see how they land. And that's kind of what you're getting today. Some old stuff and some new stuff. And let me get started. Most of my poems are poems of memory, and then I go totally off the rails and do responses to prompts, etc. So my poetry is all over the gamut. I'm going to start with this one called Kitchen Fiasco. Hummingbird cake, 3 layers of deliciousness, moist and redolent with pineapple, bananas, and spice, layered with cream cheese frosting and pecans. I believe in people having specialties, recipes they're known for, as in, what are you bringing to the potluck, Karen? I refused to learn to make the white chocolate cake because that was my mother's specialty. Hummingbird cake was mine. I'll never know what possessed her to frost my hummingbird cake before the layers were thoroughly cooled. The top layer split, a glacier of frosting and cake calving, threatening to topple off the plate. Some things are so tasty, it doesn't matter how they look. Thankfully, hummingbird cake is one of those. Spackling the crack with the generous frosting saved the cake and the day. But Mom, from now on, keep your fingers out of my dish. Okay. And I was a military brat. My dad was in the Air Force for 27 years, so he was a lifer. And in 1962, when I was in 2nd grade, we were in Biloxi, Mississippi at Keesler Air Force Base. And I don't know if there are history buffs out there among you, but 1962 was after the Montgomery bus boycotts and the Freedom Riders and Little Rock Nine, but before Birmingham, Wallace, and JFK's assassination and the riots after James Meredith enrolled at the University of Mississippi. Keesler Air Force Base, 1962. When I took Afro-American history in college, I was amazed at what I didn't know. Knowledge my mother took for granted. She was the product of a segregated high school. In the 40s, our history was taught to colored students by colored teachers. I lived during some of the years I read about, amazed at how naive, how unaware I was of the events as they happened. When I was in 2nd grade, we were stationed in Biloxi, Mississippi, the Deep South. the land of Jim Crow, though I never remembered seeing a whites only sign. But my life was a mass of contradictions. I was bussed off the base each day to a segregated school. Each afternoon, I returned to the base and played among my Black, white, and Asian neighbors. At school, we went to recess in a dusty, dirty yard. The only greenery, a few weeds struggling to survive. A creek trickled across the cracked lot like a sidewinder in the desert. We poked sticks at crawdads in their mud holes. The heat of the day matched the heat in my cheeks as Miss Antoine paddled my hands with a ruler because of a love letter schoolmates had written for me and signed my name. This was the beginning of my determination to never take blame or accept punishment for actions not my own. Life on a military base was life inside a protective bubble. I never felt the violence of the times that I would later learn about in college. I only know that we always packed a picnic lunch when we traveled. I never remembered staying in a hotel. What I remember most was fishing with my dad, catching crabs with chicken necks, the smell of scorched crab when the pot boiled dry, and the sound of croakers on a stringer lying on a wooden pier. And now let me take time to say Happy Father's Day for all of you fathers and father figures and all of our fathers who are ancestors. So let's see. My mother suffered from Alzheimer's for quite a while, and she's passed away in 21. But I have a lot of poems about her and her journey through Alzheimer's. So this one is called I Know That Like the Back of My Hand. Having watched my mother stare at hers like they sprouted at the end of her arms overnight, I'm not convinced that statement is true. Before the disease stole her from herself, I would catch my mother out of the corner of my eye, shifting each as if to examine them in a different light, moving the skin, looking at the backs, then the palms, then the backs again. Lately, examining my own hands, loose skin at the knuckles, the backs of them resembling the desert before rainfall, I've noticed that mine have begun to have that thin, papery look I've seen in older women, that soft, well-worn leather feel of age. These days, my mother sits silent, her independence, voice, imagination, and wit all ripped away, like an infant reacting to the spoon's touch at her lips, her hands clenched into fists that she relaxes only under insistent massage on my visits. I pry them open just enough to slip my hands inside hers. She grips so tightly, they go numb under the pressure. She holds on so tightly to my hands when I'm there, to nothing when I'm not. She holds tightly so that nothing else can be ripped away from her. When we went into the age of Zoom during the pandemic, I have a number of little things because I just kind of hit every Zoom I could. So I visited lots of places. That's why we don't know where we met each other. This one's a really short one, and it's called Hello Sunshine. Hello Sunshine, he typed privately to me in the chat of a Zoom room, and I favored him with a beaming facade right before my face settled back into the flatline smile I wear these days. I just don't feel like smiling all the time anymore. Even the sun gets a break on a cloudy day. I don't know about the rest of you poets, but I kind of have every one of my poems that I ever wrote. all in one place. And I had a device that evidently died, and I didn't get the information back from it. But I've been looking for this one poem that I wrote that I can't find. And so I wrote a poem about that. Ironically, it's about a lost bull. I keep a copy of every poem I've ever written except the one from second grade. Even that one, I remember a couplet or two. So I'm very aware of this lost one. I cannot retrieve it by its electronic tether. Perhaps it is adrift in some broken device made inaccessible by corrupted motherboards and non-functioning memory. Tangled in the detritus of my disorganization, I may yet find the tattered yellow-lined handwritten original. Then I will lose the sense of loss as one of my creations, astray, returns to the fold. And let's see. Raleigh, you had the Inspired Poetry Corner had the ekphrastic workshop. And I find that I like doing ekphrastic poems. So this one is from a workshop several years ago, and we were using the Atlas Obscura and pictures from that. And if you ever need any prompts and ekphrastic prompts, that's an excellent book or online to look up. And this one is called Highgate Cemetery. They came with the morning fog, figures drifting out of the gray, the widow supported by her brother, comforted by her mother, propped up when she only wanted to curl up in a ball or throw herself into the grave to be interred with the only man she had ever loved. The wake seemed to go on forever. A stream of well-wishers, murmured consolations and sympathies wash over her, but she was numb. Someone shoved a glass of wine in her hand. It tasted of ashes and gall. She wanted to retreat to their bedroom, now her bedroom, close the door on the voices, drift into oblivion. Let's see. I don't think you all can see that picture. Maybe you can. That's myself and my husband. And I wrote a poem about that picture. And it's called Glamour. We were glamorous once, your dad and I, long before you came. I made that dress. Yes, I used to sew. Floor length, one-shouldered with a contrasting sash. Your father not even trying to hide how uncomfortable he was in that three-piece suit. He's not smiling, I know, because he saved his smiles for me, made others earn them like rare treasures. This was before we moved to Baltimore. The news that a man was shot while dancing with his wife in a club, his own wife in a club, ended our nights of going out. We partied with friends, but no more dancing in strange places and dark bars. No more nights on the town, which suited us just fine. No uncomfortable suits, no hand-sewn gowns, but we were glamorous once. Let's see. I'm going to do this one, and it's called After. Thank you, Dee. I just looked over and saw that. Okay, this one's called After. Standing at the curb after midnight, talking to my neighbor from across the street, meeting her cousin after returning from the Lincoln Cafe, after the last nest of the summer days, after she yelled across the street that her man was gone after a loud breakup. We talked long after the cousin's children had gotten out of the car several times tired of waiting for their mom to take them home. After I had enjoyed an evening of poetry and friends I hadn't seen for a long time after vaccination, here I am in a dress, carrying a purse, after a quick bath, taken after I had cleaned debris that fell through the cracks during the roof repair, done after 4 years of waiting in line for the citywide roofing program, after the 20 years since the roof supposedly replaced the year before I bought the house. I can tell she still loves him, the father of her children, and her cousin has come over to keep her resolute in not accepting him back after this breakup. I understand her, the loving someone even after they are gone, as well as understanding her cousin, the one to remind her why he is gone and why he should stay that way. Newsflash, they got back together, so whatever. Let's see. I'm gonna take you back to middle school. This one's called Different. The first day of 8th grade, when I responded to the roll call in Mr. Sewell's class with present, I heard the stage whisper from several rows back. She even sounds smart. Freshly arrived from an Illinois school system subsidized by the United States Air Force, I was not prepared for how far behind academically this Dayton City school would be. I went home to my mother and cried. They've got me in the dumb class. On our visit the next day, we were assured that I was in their most advanced classes. Thus began my year of social education. I never had homework because I finished it at school. I learned to play the dozens in the back of history class. My best friend Karen and I still reminisce about the time we ran home from a school function, evading an angry potential rapist, slipping through apartment buildings and backyards as if Harriet Tubman had left us behind to escape on our own. You're different. I've heard so many times, the only label I wear with pride. It means you're not able to pigeonhole me, tick off the boxes on your list of stereotypes. I'm a Black woman who listens to country music and dresses like a bohemian, who reads like there's a medal at stake, gets excited about word origins in poetry, feels actual pain when music and voices are too loud. And no, I don't know where you can find weed. Let's see. I haven't done this one in a while, so it has an epigraph, and it's from me. Said, if I had known I'd live this long, I might not have stretched my birthday suit all out of shape. And the title is To the Body, Unapologetic. As I gaze into the mirror, I think this needs to start with an apology. I apologize to you for all the mean, petty, horrible, and self-deprecating remarks, comments, and thoughts I have had or said about you. For acts of neglect, abuse, and violence I've committed on you or let other people say and do to you. What kind of fool throws trash on his own house or burns it down? You are my home, and I should be careful of you, be proud of you, love you. To my hair, this wild, unapologetic, rebellious manifestation of my inner self, I bet you were glad when I stopped subjecting you to hot irons, chemical perms, and relaxers. We get along best when you're braided into submission. Even then, you find ways to express your independence in a braid that won't lay right or loose hairs that stick up at weird angles. To my eyes, my husband loved you and your clear brown depths. I regret that I waited until he was gone to have LASIK surgery and banish glasses from my everyday. He could have gazed into you whenever he wanted, unmagnified by prescription glass. To my heart, you plod along steadily, even though I stress you with poor diet choices and lack of sleep. I'm trying to not take you for granted and to treat you better. To my legs, I've been unkind, comparing you unfavorably to long, lean glass stemware when you are sturdy, serviceable, and hardworking. You have helped me walk away from temptations and to run away from danger. You are dependable and strong. To my skin, you deserve to be slathered in lotion every day, not in emergency situations when you are cracked, broken, and painful. As my face, you continue to deceive people about my true age, our own private joke that never fails to amuse me when we reveal the truth. And my hands, you busy, industrious beings, performing the mundane, crafting the sublime. You perform feats of strength as well as intricate and detailed work. In extremes of heat and cold and under desperate conditions, you serve me well with little complaint. So here's to you, my body, unapologetically individual, unique, one of a kind. I offer you this apology. Be sure to keep me on track of time, Raleigh. Let me know. Give me a high sign. I'm gonna slide my daughter in this. I had my daughter late, and then you end up raising your best friend, and people congratulate me on having done a good job of raising her, and I look at them and say, she raised herself, and I just had really good material to work with. So this one is called We Are Bears, and it has an epigraph from a meme. Mama bear is such a sweet way to describe the fact that I'd tear you open and eat your insides if you hurt my child. He nuzzles her head with his chin as he stands over her chair. She leans into him. My best friend and her son are cheetahs. As much as I would like to be a tiger, my daughter and I are bears. As a cub, my little one would greet everyone with a big bear hug, wrap her arms around you, squeeze as hard as she could. You would hear your ribs grind together. It's a well-known fact that you should never come between a mama bear and her cub. Many a would-be Lothario has looked over her shoulder and seen more than a touch of fang in my smile. Clyde Beatty, a famous lion tamer in my youth, preferred to work with big cats rather than bears, because you know when cats are angry, but a bear will rip your head off without warning and then go back to peacefully chewing its roots. Slow to anger, we may grumble and snort a bit, but we're mostly peaceful. My cub and I, we are bears. And another daughter poem, it's called Ghost. That was the nickname that my best friend gave her because she, a lot like her dad, was light. I once had a psychic who was doing a reading, and she asked me if I was married to a white man, and I said, no, he's just light, okay? Anyway, Ghost. I ain't mad at my best friend from college, my child's babysitter, and the nickname she gave her. Even now, looking at my child's class photos, it takes me a bit to find her. Were she darker, she might not so easily fade into the background of white children. Carla used to recount the hard looks she would get when out with my child, silent accusation of her possible congress with a white man. Lighter than she is, I did not receive such scrutiny. Most people probably assume my child is biracial. One Mother's Day, while out with mom, my brother and his children for lunch, the light-skinned Black server, feeling familiar, said, motioning toward my child, I know she's biracial. I'm not sure about those two. A quick glance at my mother and I corrected the server. She is not biracial, but they are. Colorism, an unfortunate remnant of slavery, is still very much alive in the Black community, even today, haunting us all. I hope y'all had breakfast because I'm gonna make you hungry now. For Day of the Dead, Mr. Tessasumak had asked for poems to go with the day, and I wrote Feast of the Dead. If I get a recipe from you, I will title it with your name and then the name of the dish, like Nini's mother's chicken and rice dish, or Cousin Pam's mock chow, or Donna Geber Christo's freeway pizza. An homage to the person who gave me the recipe and a way to bring them to mind each time I cook it. If I could have had all my lost back for a feast, the house would be filled. Such smell, such taste, such love, like the movie Soul Food without the drama. My husband would be at the stove frying huge pieces of the 41-inch walleye caught with his own hands, or stirring a huge stock pot of creamy seafood chowder, his Rhode Island roots slightly out of place with all the Appalachians and transplanted Ohioans around. My mother would be reminding me to take the greens through 7 waters, or chiding me for not making the crust of the blackberry and peach cobblers from scratch. She and my Granny Blanche would be shaping the rolls, and I would be on hand when the first batch came out of the oven, steaming hot and slathered with butter. My granddaddy's sand tort pound cake would be scenting the air as it cooled next to my mother's white chocolate cake. My father would be on the porch, churning homemade ice cream while getting to know his grandchildren that he never got to meet, the 3 of them born after his departure. He would be grinning from ear to ear, that delighted smile he passed on to me. Many cultures leave food at gravesides for the departed. Many times, all the legacy we have to pass on is just that, memories and recipes. May they both be sweet. Okay. And
do a couple more, Karen.
Okay, and I need to wet my whistle here real quick. Okay, I'm gonna hit you with some new ones real quick. This one is called Warrior. When you date a warrior, you learn new ways to conduct yourself in public. No walking hand in hand, no slipping your hand in his hip pocket. Save such things for the safety of your home. When you fall in love with a warrior, you learn a new way of moving through the world, head on a swivel, ever alert. If you two give someone a ride, move to the back seat and plan a defense. When you live with a warrior, you communicate in silent code, subtle gestures, telepathic glances. You fall silently into formation, shift automatically into position, wait for a signal, act decisively. When you marry a warrior, you learn not to awaken him with a kiss. You learn to tap him gently, calling his name softly, lest you find yourself screaming, "I'm your wife," as his hand closes around your neck and you face his cocked fist. When you marry a warrior, you become one too. Walk a pace behind him in a crowd, allow him to cut a path as you play backup, your daughter sandwiched in between. When your warrior falls in battle, you take up his standard, pen his epic sagas, defend his name, his child, your kingdom. You are a seasoned warrior in a deceptive package. No one knows how deadly you truly are. And I'm gonna close out with this one. It's an oldie that I love. My big thing when I had cable was like on the weekends, on Saturday especially, to watch back to back to back sci-fi original movies and figure out the theme of the day. So this one is called How to Survive a Sci-Fi Original Movie. 1, don't have sex. Everyone knows the first people to die in a horror movie is that horny couple who just finished humping like bunnies. 2, don't disobey your parents. If your dad, the chief of police, told you not to go to that campground or to stay off the lake, he might know something you don't know. He's only trying to save your life. Don't lie. Say you're spending the night at your best friend's house and then sneak off to an island with your boyfriend. Again, see rule number 1. 3, don't split up. That just makes it easier for the monster to pick you off one by one. Unless the leader of the group is a douchebag. You don't need to follow a stupid person to your doom. In that situation, you might be better off alone. 4, don't be brave. Don't check out that noise. You really don't want to see what made it. Hunker down until daylight when you have half a chance of seeing what you're up against. 5, don't be an African American. Everybody knows the Black guy rarely, if ever, survives to the end of a horror movie, sci-fi movie, or war movie. The only one I can think of is LL Cool J in Deep Blue Sea, and that's probably because Samuel L. Jackson had already been eaten. 6, do not neglect your car maintenance. You will be glad when that engine starts on the first try and you get out of the way of the tornado or T-Rex or a horde of flying monkeys. 7, don't accept rides from strangers. Seriously, have you not seen any episodes of Criminal Minds or The Hitcher? 8, be alert. Expect something bad to happen. 9, if you're running, don't trip over your own feet. Once you're down, it's all over. 10, if you don't know what it is, for Pete's sake, don't poke at it with a stick. 11, be resourceful. Know how to make a basic Molotov cocktail, a simple frag bomb, a spear. Befriend the nerd. He might know something that will save all of you. 12, shut the fuck up. Now is not the time to be running around screaming and calling for your dead friends. All that noise you're making, you won't be able to hear your doom creeping up on you. And 13, be sure to look up. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, you're hilarious. Oh, as you're doing your thing, I got this image of not so much in a literary setting, but almost like in a jazz club, in the jukebox, and we're all in our finest gowns with the fedoras going on, and guys smoking cigars and drinking scotch, but listening to this brilliant storyteller with the stand-up bass in the background going, and yeah, that was brilliant. I love how your stories, you capture your life in these stories, because to me, you're more of a storyteller than anything. It's just a brilliant reading. And some of the lines, it's not in your poem, but you just said this: are you married to a white man? No, it's just life. You just said that. I was like, you could write a poem about that, or write a piece about that. The heat of the day matched the heat of my cheeks. What's that soft, warm feel when you were talking about your hand? That soft, warm, the soft, warm
leather
feel of leather. Yeah, that was a brilliant description. I love that. Like you could take that alone and just write about it. So, When did you start writing? How old were you when you started like really?
Actually, my bio, when I started out on this poetry journey, my bio stated that I wrote my first poem when I was 7, but my mom was a teacher, and so she was critical about it. And I just didn't write anymore until I got in like my 20s. And then I was so happy being in love with the man who was going to be my husband. I didn't write anymore because it's harder to write poems when you're blissfully happy. And then in 2010, my daughter joined a program called Mosaics, which is a place where you can get your humanities credits when you go to a STEM school. And they stressed learning outside of classroom. And before they even started any classroom work, they had gotten a list of things that they might want to try out. And one of those was to go to open mic night at Righting Wrongs, or one of the local open mic venues. And I took her for the first time. Then I dropped her off on Tuesdays for about a month. And then I got interested in writing and being on the open mic. And then I started making it a passion move to go to as many open mics here in town. So yeah. And
It's a part of your life.
And you might not have known it, but I was a painfully shy kid. So getting up on the open mic was pivotal.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good way to boost confidence and practice, right? So doing a feature like this, then, how do you feel after you've just what you've just done? How do you feel?
I just feel happy that I've shared. Yeah. I don't get excessively nervous, and especially on Zoom. So, and in in-person open mics, I think I'm more nervous about possibly falling on the way to the mic than I am of being on the mic. Okay?
Right. So you grew up in Baltimore, right?
No. I'm an Air Force brat, so I grew up. We were in the Philippines when I was in 3rd grade. Of course, we were in Biloxi, Mississippi when I was in 2nd grade. We did 2 tours in Illinois, and in fact, Illinois is where I graduated from high school, and go back there for reunions. And we had our 50th reunion last year.
Okay.
But Columbus is where I have lived the longest in my adult life. And this is my 2nd time back to Columbus. I came in 1972 to go to OSU. So
you're a Buckeye. Okay.
I'm a Buckeye.
Sorry to hear that.
There's worse things you could be.
Well, it depends on who you say. I mean, I kind of lean kind of maize and blues, the yellow and blue. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
That stayed up north. On the way to you, right?
For those of you that may not know, we're talking kind of college football and the rivalry between Michigan and Ohio State. So, as a kid growing up in Brooklyn, I don't know, I had a choice between the 2 schools, and I kind of went back and forth. I just love good football, but I always kind of leaned towards Ohio State when I was a kid. But then as I got older, I kind of switched allegiance. So growing up, actually, I'm going to grow up, but when you say Black American, what does that mean to you?
Well,
what does that label mean to you?
I'm a minor history buff, so of course all of the history comes in. And in fact, I've made it it's my goal during Black History Month. I usually post every day a Black History fact or whatever. And people have said, thank you for doing that. And I go, you don't get that I'm also teaching myself while I educate you. So there's a lot of history, and yet I have a more cosmopolitan view maybe than other people who have not been in the military and lived in other countries and other cultures. I'm really more of a like a small town person who's been places.
You've been places, yeah, yeah. I hear you. I hear you.
Oh.
I'm kind of the same way because I mean, I went to 4 different high schools. I've lived in multiple different cities, so there's pros and cons to that because for me, can't speak for everyone that's gone through that experience. With one of the things living that way, you don't have like lifelong friends. When I see some of my friends that have been friends since elementary school or middle school or even high school, you don't have that. But then again, you get a different glimpse of the mosaic that we live in, and seeing people. That's why I love when that line, are you married to a white man? No, it's just life. I think that's so apropos to what we're talking about. What's
But
your sorry, go ahead.
I will say maybe that not having lifelong friends because you moved around is a male thing, because
Maybe, yeah.
my oldest friend is from 3rd grade, but part of the way that we stayed in that we were able to stay in contact was because while I was moving around all over the place, she stayed in the same house that she was born in and grew up in and is now her home. So she's like the pointy metal part of the compass tool, and
she's your true north. She's your true north. She's your true north. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it is a male thing. I don't know. But yeah, I know for me it was different, not bouncing around so much, and maybe it is a lot of it too is environmental, just the strife within my family when I was a kid. So who knows? But there, like I said, there are pros and cons because the plus side of it, I've met so many people, and I do have people from my early 20s that are still part of my life today. So that's what's your favorite word, young lady?
Gee, I didn't know that one was coming.
This is why I don't send the questions out. I want to get to the moment.
Well, I kind of hate when people ask me favorites because I don't have a favorite. I usually have words that I like.
Okay.
And
What words do you like?
And one of the things that I like are words that are not in common usage anymore, like giggle mug. And
Giggle mug? I don't think I've ever heard that.
Yeah, there was a list that came out, and I think it was made into a meme. Came out a few years ago, and it was like 10 words that are no longer in usage, but probably should be. And giggle mug basically would be me, a person who's smiling and kind of lighthearted most of the time.
Okay. You mentioned that you obviously history and loving history. When you look at history, how do you view history, especially at this stage of your life now?
Well, we'll flip that back to Black history. The current thing about not wanting critical race theory to be taught in schools, even though it's never been taught anywhere other than colleges. We're not trying to indoctrinate their children. We're not trying to make them feel bad about being white. Someone pointed up the other day on something I was listening to that instead of these people considering that we're trying to make their kids feel ashamed for being white, why don't you teach them about white people in history who were not evil slaveholders? Educate them about abolitionists, white abolitionists, etc. So history depends on how it's taught, and unfortunately, I've always heard history is the story that's written by the conqueror. So, and right now, the white supremacists don't want any changes. They call anything that we bring up new facts. They call it revisionist history. But we, Black people especially, we're reclaiming our history and the truth in our history. So
okay. What's your least favorite word? If you have a least favorite word.
Least favorite word. I don't know, the controversial one, everybody seems to hate the word moist. I don't have anything personally against the word, but I do have about the condition.
Well, we could take that in so many different directions, Karen. But then again, that's life.
Yes.
That's life. What do you like about yourself?
As I get older, more and more things. I'm less critical of myself now, so I'm learning to know Karen and to enjoy her.
I love the poem you wrote about apologizing to your body.
Yeah.
And I kind of take a different approach in the sense that I want to leave, when I leave here, I want to completely use up this whole uniform that I've been given while I'm here. I want to be blind. I want my heart to explode. My liver is gone because I drank and I lived well. I ate well. I made love well. You know what I mean? Use it up. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I hear you, because to me, the older I get, is I don't know. There's a beauty and a serenity to getting older.
Yeah.
And I feel every day I get more, I feel better inside about me and who I am. So, and I'm like you, rocking the dreads. It's not a fashion statement. It's an expression of what lives within, right?
It's easier.
Yeah, I think so.
It's that I call it get up and go hair.
Yeah.
I can get up, shake it out, and walk off.
Although there's still a part of me that was raised by my mother. You can't leave the house with your hair messy, right? So I don't know if that's just an old Trinidadian mother mentality, or it's just mothers in general. But what's your favorite sound? What sound do you love hearing the most?
I could say the sound of my daughter's voice.
I think you just did.
Yeah.
Aww. How old is your daughter now?
29. She just spoke up.
Okay. Welcome to adulthood. I know you are, we're going to wrap this up. And the whole point of this is just to get to know you in a different way. And like I said, the more I talk with you, the more I just, I'm just drawn to you. I love your spirit. I love how you laugh. I love we can talk about, very interesting topics of the day, but still be able to be firm in our convictions, but respect each other's viewpoints. So I always welcome those types of conversations. I'll wrap it up this way, because I've really enjoyed talking with you, but I want to, get the support people on. So the last question, I know you're a woman of God. When your time comes and you are walking towards the pearly gate, and you get to the pearly gate and you meet God, what would you like God to say to you?
Well, it's right there in the Bible, well done, good and faithful servant. And that's high praise, and welcome in.
Welcome in. Yeah, that's all. I guess that's all anyone can say. Whatever your belief is, did you live well?
Yeah.
Right? And yeah, it's been a good ride. It's been a good ride. And this has been just. I feel like right now I've got this permanent grin on my face.
I noticed it.
Yeah. Well, that's the effect you have. So I'm going to invite the fellow storytellers and poets to unmute and just show your appreciation, because that reading was just brilliant. Like I said, I felt like we were in a really classy joint listening to this learned stoic writer come and share.
Fantastic, Karen.
So,
Great job.
I love your humor.
Yes.
Well
done.
So entertaining.
Wonderful set.
So wonderful.
You have a beautiful smile.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you almost look like you're getting a little, you're blushing a little bit there now.
Yeah, we do that.
Yes, we do.
A lot of people don't know we do, but we do.
I would tell my friends, they go, "You blushing?" I go, "Yeah, you just have to look a little deeper, that's all." But no, that was a brilliant set, Karen, and I do hope you get featured more, because I just think your storytelling and your storytelling matches your personality. It's just very infectious, and you it's like you're being drawn into this world and listening to this woman spinning these amazing tales based on your life story. And I think that's what really attracts people, because when you can, a lot of times when I'm listening to other people's stories through their works, I hear my own story a lot of times. And that's the thing, we have so many similar experiences, we just perceive them differently, but I believe we all have the same experiences, we just perceive them differently. So this is why it's so important that we share our stories and just to learn from each other. So thank you so much for doing this, and especially on a Sunday morning, I'm so grateful. I'll leave with one of your last lines. Well, this is not yours, but this is on your Facebook page. Chocolate does not ask silly questions. Chocolate understands.
Yes.
Well, this version of Chocolate asks silly questions and does understand. So I want to thank you again, Karen. Give her another hand, guys. Well
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. That was delicious.
Fantastic.
All right. Excuse my clearing of the throat, guys. All right, let's just absorb that and kind of wallow in it and just bathe with it, because that was really good. So, all right, we will continue on now, and the poets that are coming up are here to support Karen in celebration of her works by sharing their works. Once again, this is not an open mic. I posted a list of the performers to come, and I will be, touching each of you and letting you know when your turn is coming up. But as tradition, we will continue on, and we will ask our friend Alexandra to take us into the Not Ready for Primetime Poets section and setting the tone with her beautiful renditions of her digital and spoken word. So Alexandra, the floor is yours, my friend.
Line 16. Do they know the throbbing of my aura is shaped with storms and sunrises, raging Titan battles and cirrus waves, asking for exquisiteness. In this microcosm that offers visionless nights, deluding shadowed consciousness. In this macrocosm that offers shimmering oceans, rippling golden primary rays, raising physical generations filled with high-spirited panentheism, protecting year's expression of wedded earth and sky, each cycle directing us to higher spheres of transparent visibility, enduring olive trees blossoming out of granite, rebirths blossoming out of catastrophes. Do they know the pulsation of my well-being is shaped with suffering and prayers, cracked fates and miracles, asking for empowerment in this microcosm that offers sacrifices steeped in bloodied laurels and stigmas, in this macrocosm that offers sanctified healing from etheric vitalizing currents, forming astric generations inside the antecedent Olympian womb, woven by an ancient rotating cosmic nucleus, contracting and dilating, attracting and repulsing, desynthesizing and resynthesizing, omnipotent force, authentic cures awakening out of taxing disorders, vigor awakening out of feebleness. Do they know the resonance of my hymns is shaped with chimeras and truths, remodeled longings and wind chimes, asking for harmonization. In this microcosm that offers nostalgic harps from lost treasures. In this macrocosm that offers 7-chord lyres tuned with Apollonian notes, reverberating noetic generations led by Orphic pioneers, by sacred sibyls, by Delphic ideals, in a perfect rhythm of dithyrambic solidarity, in a luminous maturation of our superior selves. Supernal melodies spiraling out of clamorous dissension, eudaimonia spiraling out of melancholy. Do they know the euphoria of my triumphs is shaped with steel and devotion, Pyrrhic dances and ecstasies, asking for humanization in this microcosm that offers unholy acts of hybris, in this macrocosm that offers honorable acts of praise, progressing numinous generations, sharing lightning sword intuition, bearers of prophecies with earthly duties, initiating merging poetry, science, philosophy, politics into one indivisible prototype of unrivaled integrity. Aureate humans ascending out of rudimentary humans. Golden ages ascending out of barbarity. Do they know at all the pledge of our flights? Is shaped with chaoses and creations, perishable and imperishable psyche flares, asking for inextinguishable, omniscient eruptions. Thank you. Raoul, I was so worried you were going to sneeze at some point because your mic open.
No, my mic was closed. Oh.
I was like, oh, I hope he doesn't sneeze.
Somebody else. Yeah, I usually check. I guess I forgot. I was just, I was listening to you and, dude, what was that line? Oh, do they know the resonance of my hymns? When I'm listening to your words and it's just like, you know, the old Stoic philosophers are turning in their grave going, okay, listen up, guys, one of our own kind of reciting right now. There seems to be such a depth coming out of your words these days. At least maybe I'm hearing them differently, but yeah. Yeah, you just set the stage for what we do after the feature. Sorry, what were you going to say?
There's a lot of Greek words which are, you know, some people might not use very often, but they exist in English as well.
Yeah. Kind of ties into Karen's theme. Just, you know, certain words maybe we need to bring back and use more. So keep bringing it, because I've said this to you many times now. There's a depth to your work, to at least the written part of your work that I'm feeling and hearing in a different way. So I thank you for that. Thank you so much. Thank you for your continued support, all the way from the island of Greece. No. I had to throw it in, Alexandra. I had to throw it.
You did cough last time. It was you last time, I'm sure.
I raise my hand. I accept my punishment. So anyway, thank you very much. All right, from brilliance to brilliance. Okay, I'm going to call to the mic this young man. He's a first time at this show. He's not unfamiliar to me. This is actually my workshop partner, Jean. You know, we've been keeping each other busy with the works that we're planning on doing. So we have a weekly show. It's not a podcast yet. The We're All in Jean show, where we offer coaching tips. And part of our show, we decided to add poetry because I guess rumor has I'm a poet. So everything I do, I always invite poetry into it. And then I got him to writing, and he's one of these people keep telling me, oh, he's not a very good writer, not a very good writer. And then he starts writing these things. And then so I invited him to step out of his comfort level and come and share. So here he is today. So I invite you all to give a warm, Inspired Poetry Corner welcome to Gene.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me, Raul, and putting me up on yet another stage and making me uncomfortable this wonderful Father's Day day here. So I'm
I
gonna
can't
kick off.
make you do anything.
You definitely encourage me, and I love a good story. So those two things go hand in hand.
You're welcome, man.
So this is a piece I haven't had a title, but I just kind of wrote it was known as the title here this morning. So bear with me, and here I go. I knew the truth of all that is, was, and could be for me. I knew the pain of the past. I felt it creep into all areas of my life, like a weed taking over the garden. Fight it, cut it, pull it out, the damn thing kept coming back. Avoid it as I may, seeding areas of me that it took over, hoping to feed its hunger. Like two locked in a shouting match, always going louder than the other. Exhausted, I ask, what do I need to know? It cuts me off with a sudden softness in its eyes. It's what you need to believe. In you. It's you. It's time to relax. I'm not here to fight you, but I will. I'm here to remind you that you can navigate it, this and that. You traded your belief in yourself for knowing and forsake the belief in stepping in, the belief of what's possible. And I stand here with you as a reflection of you. Stay and play in the belief I have in you. And peace.
Well done. How'd that feel?
Felt good.
Yeah? Not too uncomfortable?
No.
You're lying to me.
I believe.
Well, no, it's because, it's, and that's a lot of it is, when you don't believe, right? And it's just kind of sometimes just jump in the deep end. You'll figure it out. So that was really good.
Here we are jumping in. So,
I really enjoy your pieces, and each week we have a theme to our shows, and each week Gene has been writing pieces to the theme, which it's like when you go into poetry workshop with the prompts. So I'm just really grateful that we're partnering up, and me and Gene and I go way back, go back a few years now, but that he's accepted the challenge to do poetry and write it. So well done. Appreciate you coming and sharing for the first time.
Well, thanks for giving me a new experience today and encourage me. And thank you to everybody for the support. Appreciate it.
Well done, Gene. Well done. If you get a chance, I'm sure there'll be some comments within the chat that you can look at. So from brilliance to brilliance, Lucia, you're up next.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
And you're welcome.
My first poem, I have two poems. My first poem, The Truth of Mental Health by Lucia Daramas. Fog and solitude between our room and the green-yellow hospital's park. Suicidal deaths. They were instantly forgotten. Sandwiches with cucumber inside on a table in a dining room. And patience. People are judging some of them. They said, patients have no imaginary dreams in their minds, but you have to listen to the truth. What is the truth? Asked Pontius Pilate. The truth is like a cherry, which is growing up between leaves. And like them, the truth is not only red, is green for some eyes. The truth, sometimes, is like a nut, which is hidden strongly in this fruit and is hard to get inside. You have not to despise the cherry, not to despise the nuts, because they beautify our life. The truth is like an egg, so consistent and so fragile. Do not despise the egg, because in York there is the truth of life. For philosophers, this is a provocation. Yes, a provocation of life. Ask cherries and nuts and eggs, which are dancing secretly inside a yolk of life, an eroica by Beethoven. Why eroica? A classic or a romantic yolk of music? What is the truth? What is the truth? Fog and solitude. Between our room, hospital room and the net, with stars flickering in the silver of night, of our windows, hospital windows, and the heroic blue harmonic music in illness's mind. Thank you. This was my first poem. And the second one, Birds Singing by Lucia Daramas. Rain, rain with sad feathers, falling down from an angel's wing, metamorphosed into ashes of cherubs, kissing the forehead of the ill. The examination is revealed. No symptoms of fever, no broken bones, no high pressure, but the poet is nearly dead. The examination is revealed. The patient has a deep lack of love, love from the entire world. The poet is suffering. She is ill. Her voices around her ears smashed her brain, but she is speaking for everyone. She has a word, light. Look to the light and run to the light. A friend is someone who is holding your hand, running with you to the light, touching your soul with it. So, when I die, let windows open, birds coming in and coming out, singing my poems, and above, only light. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. I appreciate that. I love the line of the truth is like an egg, consistent but fragile. It's a brilliant,
Yes, thank you.
brilliant line. That's a line you can write a poem about. So I tend to do that. I listen to other people's and I'll hear a line and go, that's a poem right there. So, and I love the fact that I think last time you recited a piece around mental health. It's such I think it's one of the biggest problems on this planet. We don't talk enough about our mental health and a mental condition that's probably driving a lot of craziness that's going on right now. So thank you for highlighting that and the importance of it. And the last poem of, I took a lot of hope from that. So you're a brilliant writer. I enjoy when you come. Thank you for reaching out and wanting to share again. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're most welcome. All right, from brilliance to brilliance. Now, Genevieve, have you recited here before? I know you've been here, but
I haven't. I've been amazingly sitting there waving foam fingers at dear friends of mine and cheering.
oh, well, I usually don't spotlight the others, but I try to spotlight people have recited here first. I knew you've been here, but I don't remember if you recited. Anyway, I know you're a good friend of Marianne's and you're, sitting across the pond. So ladies and gentlemen, let's give another Inspired Poetry Corner welcome to our first time reciter, Genevieve. The floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you so much, Rolly. Thank you, everyone. It's what's really funny is the choice that you made of how you responded just then means it sounds like a fantastic segue unintentionally, because the poem I'm reading is about hope, mental health, and so there we go. It's like we planned it. But yes, I'm going to read Stoneless Places, which I wrote a couple of days. I'm not lying to you. It was just, oh, hello, segue. Stoneless Places, which is based on a line from Shawshank Redemption, which I'm sure you'll know. And the line is, there are places in the world not made of stone. The stoneless places. What song do you keep buried beneath the folds of your subconscious, kept in introductory notes? Which memory holds the daylight of your childhood, the safe place where you keep a sense of good? Have you ever forsaken a favorite rust tin harmonica to survive the surrounding cruel when in a rebellion inside of its dented steel? Have you built foundations in lost feverish forevers, unable to grasp at what was once so sure? I definitely have. The stoneless places feel like fresh air, a home against cold weather, no longer hope, but just a foothold. Left a voice note to she who is yet to exist, asking her to forgive my trespasses. I grow her flowers from old tears. May that honest voice sing back 3 times more, once in 1 month, once in 1 year, and finally in ascension when a dead variation has truly moved into its butterfly years. If I speak too much from a breaking heart, an accusation from a dear friend, yet let it always be known forever, I have lived in stoneless places, not rich in monetary value, but truer to my starlight-born wishes than a prayer-handed child who has feared that she cannot be. And that's all she wrote.
That's it? No.
That's it for that poem, unless I've got a minuscule.
I was going to say, no, I'd like one more, please.
You'd like one more, please? Okay, I will
Have
find
some more, please.
1 second. Speak among yourselves. I will find a piece then. 2 seconds. I wasn't prepared for that. All right, here we go. Lesson to all of us: always be prepared. I know. I will do one that was a celebration of poets that you all might know. If you know Hiba Amir and Bob Wellen, good friends of ours, they have the same birthday. Not quite the same year, although I'm sure Bob would love that. So I wrote a poem for them. So I'll do a quick one. This is just a little ode called Reeds. I have sat among the reeds in the riverbank of your writing, touching soils foreign to me, as you write a local truth and global expansion, one modern romantic, lecturer, libertarian, abbess of the future of prose. One poet laureate, rocking softly at portside, bringing the world to his town hall. I've sat among the reeds of your work fluttered in pages of promise, hidden under antique coffee cups, dropping passing lines into the wells of souls. I remember your lyrical stories, images as good as movies, mechanical hearts and silk under chins. You both are literature undiscovered by many, yet following sensibilities that match the sustained expectations of literature. I'm a dirty little rebel. I break all formation, creating theatre and fables, cheating, learning on my own work, which I'm still doing. I hold you both in very high regard, showing tenacity and instruction, discipline and composing. One day you will be studied in the libraries of a home you're currently residing in. And that's all she wrote.
Well done. I selfishly wanted to hear more because I don't know if I've ever heard you recite before. That first piece was that was brilliant. What was the line? We build foundation in lost feverish rivers, if I remember. I live in the land of stoneless places. And then this last one, dropping passing lines into the wells of souls. You got some brilliant lines in your work. Brilliant lines. Thank you for showing up and sharing today. I want to hear you again.
An absolute pleasure, sir. Honestly, thank you so much.
You know, people thank me for doing this. I feel like I'm robbing for you people. It's not like nobody's getting paid to do this. I just love it, and I love when people can just craft amazing lines and throughout what they do. So well done, my friend. Well done. Thank you for being here. All right, from one brilliance to the next brilliance. Serene Poems, my friend on the West Coast.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm really nervous, sorry.
Embrace the nerves, embrace them.
And I think this is my first time here too.
Is it really?
Reading, yes.
Oh, see? Just assume because I know you've been here before. Well,
I usually come
okay,
to listen.
hold on. The IPC people, the Inspired Poetry Corner, please give a welcome to first-time reader, Serene.
So for those of you who don't know me, in 2020, I started writing poetry. I left a cult and a toxic marriage, and a marriage that was filled with coercive and psychological abuse. And so poetry has kind of been my healing journey. And also I wanted to kind of say on this Father's Day, there's also some not so great dads out there. And this day might be hard for you, and we see you too. In theme with today, I'm going to read a new piece called The Thief of Truth. Here we go. A child not heard or seen retreated into a magical and magnificent world of words, soaked them in like sunshine, and didn't feel judged by them. I grew like a clumsy tree. I let the child die in me. She climbed down, not a word, and buried herself in the soft earth. I didn't cry. I didn't know her. I succumbed to the thief of truth by twisted vines that strangled me. I rolled out my proverbial rug to welcome more feet on my back, cramming my softness into a box. You can end all suffering, whispered the thief of truth, echoing, perfection is only as deep as a mirror. The thief of truth lives in my mind. It is not me. Years slipped by, smooth and gritty, a sandcastle of memories. The child in me begged to be. Unearthed herself, letting the lies fall to the earth as dirt. We hugged and she whispered, "You're free." That's it.
That's the finished version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Even the unfinished version was quite powerful.
I refined it a bit.
Why are you so nervous?
I'm always nervous when I read, always, because my words, like, it's very personal.
Yeah, it is. It is. And being vulnerable, sharing like that. But there's a strength and power to doing that.
Yeah.
And anytime anyone goes, "Oh, you don't need to be nervous," has that ever worked?
No, I'm nervous every time. My hands are sweaty.
Well, everyone, to me, I always tell people, when I used to coach football, I always tell my kids, don't run away from nerves. Nerves lets you know you're about to do something important that is taking you out of your comfort zone, right? Fear says you're not worthy to be in the spotlight and to share your words. And they're two different things. So that's why I always say, embrace the nerves. You're about to do something that's meaningful to you. And to share your story, like as I've been getting to know this young woman over the last few months, and to share what you've gone through takes a tremendous amount of strength. So yeah, be nervous about it, but keep sharing. And thanks for spotlighting or letting me know this is the first time reading. I know you've been here before, but that's what I say. I use my grace to my advantage. I'm getting old and my memories are not the same. So that's the story I'm going to go with. But you can succumb to the thieves of truth. You should write a poem just about that line, right? That's a brilliant line. Anyway, thank you, my friend. Thank you. All right, from brilliance to brilliance, from Serene all the way on the west coast of America, going across to India, and my friend and colleague with the Academy of Ethics, Dr. Molly. You are up next, and I'm assuming that's your grandson that's next to you.
Yes, really, James. It's a blessed moment now, having my grandson, whom I was missing for last 2 weeks because he was in hospital. He had some problems. By God's grace, he is getting back to normalcy. And it's a blessed moment. He's an avid listener to poems.
Oh, nice. Yes. Nice. That was great that he gets to hear his grandmother then. Beautiful.
So today is Father's Day. Here is my poem on my father, fond memories of my father. I hope I'm loud enough. Yes.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
My coffee tree in full bloom, the coffee aroma walks in. My father, are you reaching out to me through this fragrance? 29 years since you left us. Our father, the doyen of integrity, grit, inner discipline, truly simple to the core. How you imbibed the Gandhian aura of spiritual grace, genial acceptance, setting such a model for your students, colleagues, inspiring us, your children, to grow up into well-balanced human beings, to do good to the world around. Father, proud am I to become your daughter, carrying your sparks. The power of your voice that stood unique, your English so well chiseled with fine articulation, your courage of conviction, decision making. Happy were the times we sat around listening to your Air Force adventures, you rubbing against the wartime, when once in Burma, during war, how you kept awake, listening to bomb shells blasting, how you moved from one place to another, sleeping on random grounds, slouching, moving at night, only to wake up in morn to realize your whole doll on which you slept was spread on a newly dug grave on that desolate place. How hard, heavy life turned when you reeled and wriggled in pain under the confines of your military barrack, when the telegram came telling the loss of your wife in her first delivery with a motherless babe, there in native land, all in Christ. Your sweetheart, who craved your presence, gone, whom you could not give even a parting farewell. How when your senior officer approached you with a bottle of rum to make you drink and drown out your sorrows, how you refused, my father. So principled you were a teetotaler in the Gandhian way throughout your life. Proud am I to become your daughter. Later, back to native land, how well you run the local high school as headmaster, so principled, not ready to compromise, be it the pressure from the top, political with baits, or from management with threats. You lived and powerfully lived, my father. Later, when you spent your retirement days in content, with no complaints, with your eyes growing blind slowly, how things grew, just flickering shadows in thy vision. How those days you could not avail the medical interventions I now used to counter my fading vision, dear father. No time for regrets, as you would remind. Take life in its stride with a fine sense of balance. Yes, Father dear, I am growing into you. You, my beacon light, helping me traverse the rugged pathways, the sunny, shady hills and dales. My coffee tree in full bloom, the fresh aroma wafts in. My father, are you reaching out to me through this fragrance? Here is my poem on Father's Day, my dears. Really? Now that my grandson is near,
Yeah.
I would like to read a cheerful poem because he is also avidly listening.
Sure.
And it should not be something like loss and all. So I want to cheer him and as well as something like that. Can I read it? Another photo.
Of course, Dr. Molly, please.
My grandchild asks, Mama, what shall I grow into? I tell him, be good, whomsoever you grow into. Grow into that soothing cold to caress the flower fading in heat. Grow into the precious drop of water the dying man's parched lips crave for. Grow into the supporting shoulder for a friend in crisis seeking help. Grow into the rain that fills up the broken pores of parched land. Grow into the shading tree that offers rest for the traveler weary. Grow into that umbrella that stretches for the child hastening his way to school, huddling his bundle of books under the rain. Grow into that beacon light for the ship that fumbles its way into the roaring ocean. Grow into that stretchy hand for the little one crying, searching his parents in the crowd. Grow into the blessing of life for the drowning man struggling for death. Grow into the handful of rice for the famished stomach, starving for days on end. Grow into a kind brother for the lone girl way back home late at night. Grow into the warm blanket for the old man shivering in cold. Grow into the holding hand for your teacher, your world of knowledge. Grow into a caring shadow for your kin wrecked in life. Grow into the child of ours, my grandchild, who grows not out of it, yet grow into a son, a worthy son. Thank you. Thank you, dear.
Dr. Molly, those two pieces are tremendous tributes, first of all, to your father, who fought in Burma, who fought in the Great War in Burma. It's funny here in the West, we always like to talk about our soldiers and the fallen ones, and we always forget there are other people around the world who have sacrificed just like our soldiers. So, and then the line, "Father, are you reaching for me through the skies?" Like, what a tribute to your father. Like, an amazing tribute. And then you just basically almost wrote a wish list for your grandson. I love the line, "Grow into the warm blanket." That to me, that just encapsulates everything. Grow into being that warm blanket. You know, your heart just continues to just pour out in every piece that I hear you share. This is why I'm so honored to be a part of the Ethics Academy with you. Thank you for sharing, my friend. And thank you for your continued support.
Thank you.
You're a very lucky young man to have a grandmother like Dr. Molly, my friend. Well done. Well done. All right, from brilliance to brilliance, this young man, one day when he decides to put his memoirs up, I'll be reading it, because he's lived a life. He's lived an amazing life and experienced a lot. And the more I hear his poetry, the more I'm getting to know him. Just really love his voice. Lennart, my friend, the mic is yours.
Thank you, my friend. Deanna in the afternoon. Lying on their bed in the afternoon, she meant only to sleep the August heat away. Making love wasn't on her mind any more than what to cook for dinner or get her mother for Christmas. Naked now, except for his hand on her thigh, waxed well by his sweat as well as her own, she's glad she said yes. One vampire's wish. Who told you vampires never age? That's a crock. I'll bet they told you we only drink the blood of virgins, too. Where do they get this stuff? I'm so old, virgins just don't do it. There's been so many, and it gets boring. And frankly, I'm not all I used to be. You know what I mean? My joints ache when the moon throbs on the horizon. Thunder hurts my ears, and the rain is hard to fly through. You try it sometime, okay? All I really want is someone to come home to, a woman to rub my feet and tell me I'm forgetful but not batty, to sit around the house and have a drink with. Rereading Sandburg. There are stories born to be remembered, and young men read them on the train in the early morning, while old men rock next to them, dreaming of youth. There are stories that lose their way, early or late, and no matter how they're called for in the middle of the night, never quite find their way back home from the forest, never quite grow up. There are stories that are rewritten years later when the language they speak is extinct and mean as much as when they were born. There are stories set to paper for one special woman, and maybe she keeps them in a drawer with old photos, and maybe she spills the morning coffee on them and throws them away, already forgotten. Thank you all.
You might be forgetful, but not batty.
Yeah, I'm guilty. I'm guilty.
That second piece, let's just take the whole thing and make another poem out. That was just hilarious, my friend. Hilarious.
Thank you.
I'm loving the humor in your pieces, and yeah, yeah. I love that.
Just wait till I get old and see how I am, you know?
Well, I can't wait till the senile kicks in, so.
It's getting there.
I'm right behind you, my friend. Trust me. I'll tell people, I don't know. I accept the fact that I could have lost my mind a while ago, so.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so.
I saw the posters you put up for it.
Well, the water is warm in my pool. Jump in. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for the continued support. Moving from brilliance to brilliance. Playwright, poet, wordsmith. I don't know. I usually go between Vayl and Val, and I always mess up the name, but you can't mess up the talent, the words. This wordsmith. I don't know what to call you, but you're brilliant. So I'll just shut up and say, Vayl or Val, the mic is yours.
Thank you. It's Vayl. I'll just remind you every time and eventually it'll stick.
One day, but I don't care because the words. Anyway, guys, enjoy this. She's brilliant. Well, they are, yeah.
Thank you. Hi. Okay, well, I'm going to do two pieces. And this first piece is really about sense memory. A lot of people are talking about memory today, and it's so funny. This is about those memories that are stored in your body and not in your brain, if that makes sense. My body time machine. My body time machine grabs me back again by the nose this time. So sweet, so sharp, so filling up of sinus space and exploding in my brain like firework flowers. Like the moment you first kissed me beneath the blossoms on the wall. And now that spring seizes and stretches them down and down again, their scent unleashes Saturn, and I am pulled back to your embrace. My body time machine breaks in all the ways you broke me up and stacked me back together. I can taste the threads of gold you used to piece my fragments, so careful to find how they hang together naturally. So quick to catch the slightest slip of a sliver, nothing lost, no misshapen seams. Exactly the art I always was, and only glowing veins to echo the smashing past. My body time machine is slicing through the years like surf, riding their ripples. My body time machine is swimming up, up, and over again to see the farthest peaks of the past, count the bubbles in their foam, and feel again your body, firm flesh and giving skin, the tickle and press of your chest on mine, and how we elide, flowing together, our liquid affinity for sharing our space. My body time machine makes eons light, but massive moments, so heavy they pull years into their paths, call to a siren sweet, and we sweep around again to meet them, gracious greeting, then their overwhelming presence in the present like past was nothing, a rumor of distance where there is only unity, you and me, and our orbits intertwined, and I meet you here and now in the instant of our being together, and I meet you then for the first time, and I find your arms around me, always. Little drink. Thank you. Okay, and the second piece. I write a lot of pieces about spirituality. My spirituality is very independent from my concepts of religion. They're kind of two separate things in my brain. And I have ambiguous feelings about both subjects. So this is kind of one of those poems. I dreamed of God and how to get there. I dreamed of God in the corner, and God is watching God make daisies for small insects. And God is watching God kill a child. And God is watching us dig deep as we can to bury all of our children like daisy seeds buried in dirt made of dead flowers. I dreamed God's voices are all our voices, the voices of our fellow tree creature stones, and the voices of the stone trees on scattered, gathered planets around so many stars, and the voices of the stars between them and their worlds. I dreamed we were one, within God, within us. Is this the way we slid from the mind of God? Our ignition, our dissociation, and our downfall from godness and grace into fractured reality. And here it was, all in a bang. Life, strife, time, and turmoil. Everything that God's wisdom had warned us of. Every shredded certainty scattered to the pieces peace was made of once. Before the beginning, before the wait, the word. God, I dreamed, believes God's self to be a billion, trillion sparks, light and darksome electric absences, and space stuff and void stuff, all scattered to a wilderness of being, bright and shifting mists and novas, growth and change and change. There is no stillness and no unity here. We flee God, sacred sphere, and mourn our faults and fissures. What do they mean, these fragments of the infinite? Why does God feel closer when I focus on the fractals of a leaf? We so dimly see signs, fading, flowering, and flaming out, but nothing is created or destroyed. So I love us all now, as I love our rock and tree creature world, and our singing sun, and the vain deep dreaming of the cosmos, and eternity, and us, one with God's joy, and how it will feel when we finally remember it. Thank you.
What am I supposed to say? I saw someone commented, I'm jealous of the wordsmith thing. Exactly the art I always wanted. I always was. I think that was the line. Exactly the art I always was. Why does God seem closer when I focus on the fractal of a leaf? That's the brilliant line. I'm not going to say I'm jealous. I'm just going to steal from you from now on. That's
Hey, great composers, good composers borrow, great composers steal. I said that. Actually, it was Stravinsky.
okay. Don't know, don't care. I'll take it as you said it. Now, are you going to release that play again or show it again, or?
You know, actually, I now own a video of it, and I can do whatever I want with it. So I am thinking about showing it again and putting out a more widespread invitation,
Yeah.
because before I could only invite specific people,
Right.
because it was still under contract with the theater. But now I have this video, I can do whatever I want with.
What's
So
the
it's
name of it so people can keep an eye out for it?
It's called Words of the Prophets, and I will eventually put it on YouTube after I show it a couple more times.
Yeah. Well, I would like to see it, and because I've heard great things about it, and I'm not surprised because you wrote. Did you write all of the screenplay? Yeah. So
Yeah, I wrote the whole thing, and I was an assistant producer and an assistant director.
So D just goes, you got a feature. I go working on it. You're like at top of the list of I've got my list for this year, but a year is a long time, and sometimes life happens. So you're right there because your writing is just exquisite. Doesn't capture. It's just the depth of the words and the meshing of the words and the meaning that it conjures up, the feelings that it conjures up. You're a brilliant writer. You're a brilliant writer. I always enjoy listening to you. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for reaching out. Well done, Val. That's our running joke now. So doesn't matter because you're just, I just really enjoy your work. Thank you so much thank you for being in my circle. All right, from brilliance to brilliance, another brilliant writer and photographer, Mona. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I have 2 poems for today. No title. Drifting in silence, the breeze light on the dark pond of newly opened water lily blossoms. Close by, motorcycle engines calling a mad dash from here to somewhere, anywhere, anywhere. And I say, of course it hurts, not different than raging thoughts, roaring, racing in this mad dash from here to somewhere, anywhere, anywhere. The aimless drifting now livened as the half smile upon my lips. I feel you in this heartbeat. 2 dragonflies colliding mid-air in an unlikely kiss. Here is the water lily and the sound of my paddle that startles a young turtle back in the pond without a ripple. And here, the sky, perfectly blue. The second one. One misty afternoon, the sky heavy while passing through the woods, my sandals unequal to the path. Yet, being light of heart, did not think twice before deciding onward, barefoot, though the river rocks were sharp. Much slower and renewed of care, each step a blessing of a different kind. Eventually, the river rock had turned to leaves, and the cold mud soft and soothing underneath. By now, the forest green was greener, and the blackbird's song sweeter, the air suddenly fragrant and alive. Out of the thickets, I now saw them, 2 eyes still moist with wonder, antlers just inching out, and then his older brothers and their mama. And then, and there, enthralled in their childlike delight, I forgot where I was going or that I ever need arrive. Thank you.
I forgot where I was going and I never need arrive. Wow. Are these pieces, because I know they're untitled, but are they from, is your photography a prompt for you or?
These are actual things that happened.
Oh, really?
And photography is definitely a part of it. I always complement my whatever I write with pictures or vice versa.
Well, that first piece, because I remember your series on the turtles, so that the little turtles that you capture, and you know, the turtles slipping back into the water, you're saying these words, and it's just taking me to the photos that I've liked, that I've seen of yours. If you have not gotten a chance, go on her page and look at her photography. There's another brilliant poet, Thomas, that has a great eye with a camera, and you're right, you know, you're right there with him. So yeah, when I heard that first piece, it just took me to that set that you took of the turtles. What did you? And I love the line: each step, each step a blessing of a different kind. Right? Brilliant work. Brilliant. I love that line. Brilliant writing. Well done, my friend. Well done.
Thank you.
Keep writing. I know you say you're not a poet, but yeah, that's a lie. That's a lie. That is
Thank
a
you.
All right. Excuse me. From brilliance to brilliance. I don't know. This woman is like all over the place right now. Being interviewed on BBC and wherever else. I can't keep up. I don't know how you guys keep up with all this social media, but she's just kicking it right now. We featured her earlier this year with Dr. Molly for International Women's Day, and she's another person I enjoy listening to. So I'm going to shut up and just say Neymar. Gotta love when you can just, when you say the name and people know exactly who you're talking about. The floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to share 3 poems. First one, Brewing Over a Brew. In my worn robe, gazing into cold tea dregs, fermenting in the bottom of a chipped mug, feeling like somebody pulled the rug, silencing thought and the questions it begs. If I was not here, if I was nowhere, non-existent, the question persistent, an element in mist, would I miss it? The children who anchor me, baby fingers holding on tightly, would they hate and berate me? Would they say I was selfish? The spoon ran away from the dish, each memory sullied with tragedy, an existence turned to shit. The parents who outlived their child, could they forgive the ultimate sin, masking grief as they push out their chin, stumbling on without a crutch? The hurt their shame corrupts, my name loved and reviled, absently gulping cold dishwater sips, comforted by the TV's lulling noise, the chicanery solitude employs, suckling threadbare hope in drabs and drips. I am not here or anywhere, but I exist and life persists, seasoned with all I hold dear. Thank you. Second piece, untitled. There is a grit that remains even when dragged by raging tides or ferociously flung on craggy rocky shores, who gape toothily at like gargantuan jaws that cannot be swallowed by the trials, a sediment which defies the grain, returning to the ocean on the current's command, splayed on a passing ship's beaming bow, submerged in the alkaline quagmire on its keel, sometimes standing on shoulders, others on the heel, a stubborn speck which rubs back somehow, forged by the elements to willfully withstand. Thank you. And the final piece, Gnawa music. Softly seek to create and not destroy. Be free from the chains of the hoi polloi. Search to feel completely at one with the soulful beats of the Gnawa drums. fade into the Bordeaux floating light, skip to the metal claps of the crack of bites, drift out of the flesh with the gimbry strum, vibrate far from the crushing humdrum, sway with the music like reeds lilting with the wind, rejoice in the weightlessness of the soul's incline, pilgrim to the tone's lonesome desert lute, a light upon a heavenly homeward commute. Thank you.
A lesson in life, eh? I am not here or anywhere, but life persists. It's a powerful line, Nayma.
Thank you.
Powerful line. You know, it's funny, these last pieces I've heard, you know, I just hear the full spectrum of life and the balance. There's a balance, there's an invitation to be balanced in a viewpoint. That's what I hear. You're writing again. You're a brilliant writer.
Thank you.
That's why I keep saying from brilliance to brilliance. So I invite poets to stop comparing and, oh, how I'm supposed to follow that. Man, what you bring to the table does not need to be compared to anyone else. It stands on its own. We can all stand on our own. That's just, I love listening to your words. And like I said, it's just like with Alexandra, the more I hear your stuff, it's like the deeper it comes into my soul and I hear it in a different way. So I thank you for that. Thank you. All right, from brilliance to brilliance. Henry, my friend, the mic is yours. Talking about another brilliant wordsmith. Are you still here? I know you're here. Calling Henry. Okay. I'm not sure if he's here or if it looks like he's still here, but if you're here, Henry, we'll go to the next person and then hopefully you'll come back on and we'll get you on. All right, again, from brilliance to brilliance. I'll just call him Miss Moon. Right? The full moon poet, my friend Marianne from the island of Saint Martin. The mic is yours. How will you dazzle us with the moon today?
Well, I'm actually going a little elsewhere today. It's being Father's Day.
Okay.
I know it's hard to believe. Positive ID. We got to check somewhere. The first poem I'd like to share today is called Second Chances. I don't know if some of the others might have had a chance to catch our poet friends Pongo and Zamkonto in their shared feature yesterday afternoon at Verse Virtual, but something that Pongo said really prompted me to continue this poem that I actually started yesterday morning. Do you want me to wait or bring in Henry now since he just popped back? Or shall I continue?
No, you go and then I'll bring Henry in after you. Yeah.
All right, I call this poem Second Chances. If we live in a world of second chances, why does it feel like all the clocks are frozen with downturned mustaches and lips pressed into straight lines? At a moment when your turn and mine haven't come yet and never will, I guess it means we've got to take time into our own hands. We can't wait for tomorrow, for everything that happens only in the now, and the now, and the now, and only ever will. Scroll your thoughts back to a time where nothing happened, or maybe everything did, but it doesn't matter because every one of those seconds, every one of those seconds, minutes, and hours is dead and gone. If you think about it, you can make yourself crazy, wondering if they ever really existed. And if there's any doubt, even one, it's not worth investing even one more minute in worrying about them. We live in a world of second chances. Make these seconds count. That's my first poem. And I had the pleasure of having this next piece appear yesterday in Syncopation Literary Journal out of Caledon, Ontario, which is just north of the city. And it's actually a little Father's Day piece inspired by my dad. It's called Don't Be Cruel. With 3 daughters under 5 in July of 1956, and all that grime between the stove buttons that could only be dislodged with a Q-tip and elbow grease, my mom didn't have a lot of time for cutting the braided rug until the screen door opened and Daddy walked in, carrying a plastic disc in a paper sleeve like it might contain the nuclear codes. He told me, run, get my record player, the little pink suitcase I got last Christmas, and set it on the kitchen table. Carefully, he raised the lid of that magic music box, which I loved even more than my sisters with the slim ballerina who spun on point when she cranked the key. Daddy clipped the adapter doohickey into the center of the 45, placed it on the rubber pad, and checked the needle for any bit of dust, and carefully set the stylus on the margin. Like a preacher, Daddy spoke a single word to my mom, and she was ready for communion. You know I can be found sitting home all alone. If you can't come around, at least please telephone. Daddy took Mom's hand and spun her in a way that made me understand. Sometimes before my sisters and me, that bantamweight merchant marine and the gray-eyed good looker who poured Cokes down at Augie and Ray's must have gone out on a Friday night and come home carrying Mom's stilettos early on a Saturday morning, because my dad was the best dancer in the world, especially with me crushing his arches while he popped his feet, holding me puppet-like by the hands as we toured the kitchen floor. Well, I guess Don't Be Cruel is still my favorite all-time Elvis tune. And I sure hope Wally and Amelia and the King are out there on cloud 9, rocking and rolling with all 2 minutes and 4 seconds of it somewhere today. Happy Father's Day, Dad. Thank you.
You know, it's the second time I've heard that piece, and every time I hear it, I could visualize you in the living room, and Mish may be there as well, and your dad getting the 45 and lifting up the needle and making sure there's no dust on it, because we've done that. I love that. Love that piece. I love that piece.
Thank you, Ralph.
We live in a world of second chances. Make these seconds count.
Yes.
Brilliant line. I'm with you. Even when when we visit the past or the future, we can only do it in the now.
Correct.
I love how people always tell you, don't do that, but you have to visit. But even when you do that, you're in the now. So that's a brilliant line. And then, like a preacher, Dadley spoke a single word. A single word and a preacher don't go together, but for some reason that line is very powerful. That speaks volumes. That's brilliant writing, my friend. Brilliant writing.
Thank you so much, Ralph. Thank
Brilliant
you.
writing. I love when you hear someone telling a story through their experience, and you can actually just visualize it. I could actually just visualize your father doing that, and then getting you to stand on his shoes and you dance around. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool.
That was
That's
it.
a really good.
And a shout out to my sister Mish, who is in the audience today.
That's why I mentioned it, because I see her in her red sweater. So, all right. From brilliance to brilliance, this young man is back. So Henry, Poet Laureate, you're up, my friend. All the way from
everyone.
Nashville, Tennessee.
Yes, I'm here. Country music land.
There you go.
I do not have a video. I don't know what happened to my cam. It's somewhere around here amongst my artistic chaos. I probably need to buy a new one anyway. Glad to see everyone. Karen, you were phenomenal, and everyone else. And it's been a while, but thank you again, Roel, for this event, pulling this together. I'm going to start with a poem from an anthology. This is the anthology in fullness of the word, an anthology of Black American poet laureates. This book is history, you guys. This is the first time that an anthology of Black poet laureates has ever been published. So there are 22 of us in it from around the nation, and I feel honored to be amongst them. So I'm going to share a couple of poems. And I think I have a way I can share the cover so you can see it. It's available online, or if you want an autographed copy, reach out to me. This one is titled "Once We Ran with the Wind." This poem was written from an exhibit where I and another poet were dealing with the gentrification of Nashville. And this is something that's going on in many cities throughout the US. I looked at all of our art. His name is Omari Booker, and I looked at my art, and this poem just came out, and I was like, yeah, this, because we drove by communities, just looking at the changes. He lived there, grew up there most of his life. I was there during college, and of course, that's where I live now, and saw changes, and it's rapidly happening. Anyway, once we ran with the wind. I searching for old paths, longing to find our lost dreams. Once so easy found in the streets, named after no one we knew or anyone who cared about us. Legs racing for the house, seeing a beacon to get home before the streetlights came on. Lit from swift children to know, passing, smiling, waving neighbors. Better move your butts faster. They knew why you ran, to prevent whippings with a belt, for being late, not again. So you ran like a gazelle, swallowing Wilma's breath, going, giving you a second wind, pretending to be the hero Flash. Better get home soon, late legs, as trails of dry leaves rose and fell, quickly hiding your direction so hunters couldn't follow you home. Mark that sacred space as condemned. Our houses was all we had, but just enough to make us believe we were safe at night. A home where laughter coated the walls, layered memories of joy and pain. Welcome griot voices that echoed history with stories about the now to now. And knowledge kept moving, keep moving. We walked on the potholes filled, made to work. We marched on hot, hard streets for justice. We ran through grassy fields to freedom. We danced to release all our heartaches until weary and worn, but kept moving. Until those legs found their way back home. No matter how far, they never stopped finding a way to make a way back. Because stopping isn't in us to do ever. So when we fall, we rise mighty again. On strong currents with wide wings, we learn to fly away, seeing faces to pavers along the paths, those journeys of rising and falling. So many times we became dizzy, but we just smiled, still moving, and changed motion into music, pulling out songs from our hearts, singing words from our longing, old spirituals of those waymakers, and we struggle to keep going. No one can see us moving alone. Ghostly glances of us, past new faces, twisted smiles, stand their ground, new roads, new faces, new places. we just gone, vanished overnight, pretending we never existed. Only secret remains found of us. Eyes searching for old paths, longing to find our lost dreams. That was once we ran with the wind. The next piece. Happy Father's Day, Black Music Month, and Juneteenth. And these things kind of, that trinity kind of sticks in my mind. I'm a father, I like history, and I love music. I really love music. I've never met anybody say, I don't like music, you know, I'd wonder about that. This next one, it's a difficult piece, but it's something that we're still dealing with. It's titled, The Justice of Bullets for Crowd Control. I am dead. Words thrown at my face, bullets shot into my head, attack dogs keep me in place. It's okay if I end up dead. Evidence is dead. Mourn me, virtual distant eyes, see the red holes in my chest, lips spit out their old dusty lies, show the body cam on the vest. My child is dead. A grieving mother's tears rain down, father's hands try to lift the child still as blood fills the cracks in the ground, outlined chalk lines drawn to reveal. Their eyes are dead. We're looking for another way. Find new paths of freedom's dream, outpouring loud words we say, we are human, hear our scream. That was published in Ice Flow Press and also a anthology dealing with gun violence. And the last one, I'm going to leave with a little joy. I haven't read this in a while, many years actually, if not at all. It's titled Flying to Her Dreams. You know, because life is a balance of, you can deal with issues and all, but I write about trees. I think it's not just one particular subject you write about. I love nature, love taking walks. Flying to her dreams. Who is this little girl who smiles at the sun, eyes like shining stars? She loves to jump and run. One day she spread her arms, then flew through the air. Birds stared and laughed at her, but she didn't really care. Trees looked like broccoli, other children like ants. What will happen when she lands? Burn a hole in her pants. The wind blew her higher, the sun smiled as she drew near. Her hair blew kisses to the clouds as she flew to her dreams without fear. I came across that poem one day when looking for another, and it was a young lady, a little girl named Courtney Patty Cake Phillips, and I was trying to remember. We have 3 daughters, and she was one of our daughter's friends, and I called each and like, you remember Courtney Phillips? They called her Patty Cake, and apparently it was one of those things where a student was going through, I don't remember the life crisis, but my middle daughter said, yeah, she was in my class in elementary school, and I wrote this poem dedicated to her. And it, for whatever reason, it got hidden in my binder of poems. And when she told me more, all the images and that young lady's crisis and so forth, going through surgery, she had cancer. And I just wrote that to kind of lift her spirits. And, that happens when you're just thinking of somebody and to say, you go make it, kid. Because I can't imagine when you become a parent, and of course it's Father's Day, and you've had healthy children, or you hear stories of other parents when their children have gone through a lot, you know how blessed you are that your children, when they grew up, they didn't have those challenges. It really does. So, but thank you very much, you guys. Love to hear the rest of you. Thank you again, Karen. Love your work.
Thank you, Henry. And not just for you, I'm gonna issue this out, and maybe I shouldn't have assumed everyone knows this. If you have books or whatever you want to promote, don't just put it in the chat here. I invite you to either tag me on my page or put it in the Inspired Poetry Corner. If you have a book that you want to position, whatever it is, put it on the page and I'll approve it, because I think it's important that we try find ways to support each other. I'm not going to assume everyone's financial situation, but whatever you can do to support a poet or a writer, please do so. So feel free to put your information in the Inspired Poetry Corner page on Facebook, or my page, or put it here. But this is temporary. Those it'll have a little bit more life there. So thank you for that, Henry. I always enjoy, and you and I overdue for a one-on-one chat, but we dance to the release of all our heart's aches. Some of the lines in your, and then looking for lost dreams, just little things, but the depth of your words. I mean, I've talked to you a few times now. I just enjoy listening to you. So, and I believe it was earlier or last month, you and your wife celebrated 30 years, I believe, or something like that. So congrats, my friend. All right, we'll continue. We're almost done, people. We're almost done. I appreciate your patience. This is like a romance. It's hot and heavy at the beginning. I invite you to stay hot and heavy at the end, All right, up next, from brilliance to brilliance. I affectionately call this man the Professor, but I think we tagged him with a new name last time called Smooth. Was it Zimkanto? They called it Smooth Velvet. So Ian, my friend,
Yeah.
Smooth Velvet, aka the Professor. The mic is yours.
Now hot and heavy, Smooth Velvet. Right. Okay. Well, I'm kind of just about to vaporize with embarrassment, following from that, but I'll do my best. So recently I've taken a leaf out of Nayma's book, and I started writing a sequence of poems based on recollections or inspired by thoughts about the pandemic and the lockdowns that we all had to go through. So this one is the most recent one, I think, in that sequence. So the actual sequence, I've given it a working title called Coming Back Up for Air. This one's called Perpetual Motion, or Coming Back Up for Air one more time. Lately, I feel the need, or is it just a vain desire to keep moving like a primordial shark cruising the shadowy depths? The sense of perpetual motion without which the weight of these aging bones will drag me down to sink supinely into the muddy sediments of that existential sea. Resting in perpetuity amidst the jettisoned debris of withered lives that gave up the ghost too soon, tiring of these worldly travails, caught up in the tangled nets of just managing to get by, scudding between hitting a blank of forgetfulness or simply drifting off into semi-consciousness, surviving on the scraps of bloodless memories, the haunting presence of possible past lives, continually coming back up for air just one more time. So that's that one. And last one here. I think it was in one of Camlyn Tunbap's open mics, on the Tuesday lunchtime here. She mentioned the film, this Japanese film called Departures. Somehow cropped up in the conversation. So I actually went out, I got the DVD and I watched it the other day. And if you haven't seen it, or if you have seen it before, then you know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't seen it, you watch it, I guarantee you'll be blubbering before the end of it. And so, because I certainly was. So this is it's kind of an ekphrastic sort of poem based on images and the what the impressions I got watching the film. So it's called Departures, Part 1. The wild geese take flight, wings outspread, glinting white, rising up on pillows of lapis blue skies, rinsed by the autumnal rays of departing sun. See them banking, raised high on crescendos of summer's parting ways. Say your farewells, speak softly now, though they soon will return again. But you may not be there to greet them the next time they are resting on the reed banks by the placid waters of wetlands flanked by their helm of purple mists of mountain tops. And take care of this pebble that's being passed on to you, to hold inside your hollowed fist, its smooth edges wear the insignia of borrowed time that collects its own commission with interest added on. Hold it tightly, 'tis but a lien to keep in lieu until the debt has been discharged, that remains owed till the gateway has been opened wide enough for a lost soul to pass through. Say your goodbyes now, but remember to let go gently. Your tears will ease the passage, taking them to the next stage on the way, to ready yourself for your own departure, as the wild geese spread their wings to set out on that long migration once again. Thank you. That's me.
Yeah, smooth velvet, all right.
Hot and silky.
I feel the need to keep moving, or is it a vain notion? Your wording, just the imagery that it conjures in my head. But I like I said, I could listen to you all day long. You know, if I was back in school again, you'd be a teacher I'd want to have.
Yeah, don't hold me to that.
What's that?
So don't hold me to that. I might get a bit fed up and need to go to the loo before.
That's okay. I'll let you go. Anyway, I know you don't take it well, but you're a brilliant writer. The imagery that comes across, at least for me, when I hear your words, is just.
I'm beginning to get used to it a bit now, Raoul.
Well, take it because you're a good writer.
Thanks, anyway.
You're a good writer. We enjoy, and I always appreciate your support. So thank you. But like I said, yeah, I call you Smooth Velvet, but to me, you affectionately always be the professor. So anyway, from brilliance to brilliance, we've got 2 left, guys, so we're almost finished. My friend from the South, my brother in arms, who is back in, I guess, full swing after enjoying a family vacation and watching his grandson graduate, I guess. Yeah, so welcome back, Richard. Good to have you here, my friend. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm so pleased to be back among my poetic friends. Family is wonderful, but there is a nourishment that comes from listening to such heart-spoken words and such deep feelings. Always an honor and a pleasure. I do want to mention 2 other things. Happy Juneteenth to everyone. And in addition to that, on a sadder note, a brother, Daniel Ellsberg, has passed away. A man who's revealed some very important information about how the American government works, and he stood very, very bravely in a very difficult time, and I think his name is worth honoring. And happy Father's Day. Now, let me read you 2 quick little poems. The first one, a dive into a little philosophical puddle. Lao Tzu really knew. Lao Tzu really knew if he really tried to serve you, he must be a lower, modest mouse, not aim to have a bigger house, not try to carry vasty coin, not encumbered, not annoyed, seek in service his advantage, not to drive a racy carriage. The river in service accumulate, tributaries carry weight. His very lowness is employed to deliver duties we all enjoyed. Lao Tzu, it is said, placed this thought upon his head: to be is to do. Let them not catch you acting, Spencer said, in this matter-of-fact thing, because he said it'd be distracting. So do not show, but do already. Then, my friend, your deed is steady, and in the moment, you'll be ready. So Lao Tzu really knew. And then this one, for all our charges and countercharges and desires to make this a better world, I want to leave you with this thought. This is called my totem token. My totem token. My totem token is not a flag. It will not upon the bloody ground get dragged. It will never fulfill some gruesome pledge or order some miscreant merrily off some pitiless stony ledge. It will not upon the gridded sports grounds be paraded. It will never unto those vivid cash-driven spirits be supplicated. It will not spur the clash of classes, nor ever bring to their bruised feet the huddled masses. And above no battleground will it wave, nor handsomely decorate sepulchre or grave. Mankind is my totem, despite how regularly the gruesome gods have smote 'em, or place the bloody clot in one big pipe and smoke 'em, or boil 'em up until they're cherry red and ripe, all gloatin', or place them, dress them in some golden plate, or ignoring countless disasters, cast their eyes to heaven and openly call it fate. These fragile, funny creatures, so nobly born, are all too often by their twa-penny fellows spurned, burdened, blanched, and scorned. And as for me, I laud the ragtag clan, and hereby celebrate the noble race of man, ennobled by the lauded fiery Promethean spark, withstand in the dark ever indefatigable, and in the endless artful ways of love resolve, whether here in earth life or in high heaven above, heed the clarion call of love. I celebrate those resilient beings who in a universe of inchoate chaos somehow carve out fruitful meanings. My friends, I give you mankind.
The philosopher of jocularity. My God, brother. I love how you can take, I guess, what you would call serious components of life and use humor for us to look at it in a different way. That is a gift. Like I'll say this till the cows come home. Richard and I don't always agree on political viewpoints, but that doesn't matter because I have such a respect for this man. And all your lines carry a weight, but tributaries carry weight. Your words carry weight. And you are definitely love in action. And this is why I so enjoy talking with you. And we can differ on viewpoints, but you're just a good, gentle man. I'm so honored to be your friend. Now that you're back, I'll reach out to you. We'll have to have a sit down and coffee and catch up. We have lots to talk about, lots of craziness going on these days. What was the name of the gentleman that passed? I'm sorry.
Daniel Ellsberg. He's the Daniel Ellsberg, revealed the Pentagon Papers.
Yes.
He had been a Marine in Vietnam. He came back and was tasked to study. And he studied not only Vietnam War history, but he also studied how nuclear weapons are actually controlled and how easy it is to fire them. His second book was scary.
Yeah. That's why I invite people to wake up and, especially my American friends, America is not a democracy. She's a republic, and therefore the power lies with the people. And, if you don't like the government that you have, same here in Canada, we don't like the government, then if you don't wake up, you get the government you deserve. Right. So, as America's done a lot of good things, she's done a lot of crappy shit. So, to some degree, the chickens have come home to roost. That's kind of how I look at it. So, Thanks for that reminder always. George Carlin would love you. George Carlin, because your intellect, not just your humor, the intellect and how you use it takes a great intellect for me to, in my estimation, to be able to use humor in that way with very serious topics and to get people to look at it. And there's the beauty of humor. I was saying that to my sister. You know, she almost feels, she feels like we're going backwards when it comes to freedom. I go, you want to see how free we were? Go back and look at our TV shows from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. A lot of those shows, I grew up with Archie Bunker and George Jefferson, two outright racists. But yet, they used that platform to talk about something that was serious and use humor to get us to look at it in a different way. Those shows could not be on TV today. There is no way. So you keep doing you, brother. I appreciate you as always. And last but not least, our spiritual guru gets to end the show and take us home. You know, he's got a blessed soul, because it seems like every show I go into when he's there, everyone saves him for last, and maybe he just gets used to it now. I do, just like I use Alexandra to set the tone. I love ending the show with this man, and Richard is usually right behind him because of their wisdom. So Mr. Lantern Carrier, please share with us your brilliance as always.
Thank you, my brother Roll. A very happy Father's Day and salutations to all my poet family. Dance with my father. He gave me comfort, money, toys. He showered love and heard my cries. When I was wrong, he did address my faults with sweetness at its best. He gave me praises, scoldings too. I'll make a better man of you. And so I learned my lessons well, proud of my daddy. Truth to tell. At times with mother saw him sleep, head through the pillows, had a peep. With life's endeavors laughed and wept, embraced as one we always slept. Concerned devotion was his name, all through his life was just the same. Fun-loving, witty, life of care, for mom and I went everywhere. My father was a man of God, through trials reign was never sad. He counseled me when in distress, elated, proud of my success. I made it great turned out to be, but wanted most for him to see the heart of beauty I became, all blessings to my father's name. Poem 1. Poem 2. God has infinite children, but the name of his fondest child is peace. God has infinite children, but the name of his fondest child is peace. A moment's peace edifies the spirit, sharpens the intuition and calms the heart. Like an ascending dove, it sails on the wings of love, flying above the storms of life. A moment's peace is blessed above all else and fills my core with perennial sweetness. Taking away my veil of tears, it embraces me with its nectar rays. A moment's peace gladdens the emotions and eradicates anxiety. It fills my soul with heavenly joy and alleviates the magnitude of my earthly struggles. A moment's peace brings forth a carousel of new tomorrows. It frees me from a flood of worldly thoughts and destroys the rust of my unhappiness. A moment's peace has the vivacity of a lion, yet it's meek as a lamb. It grants me the grace of inward vision, delights in the sovereign good above all visible and invisible things. A moment's peace is contented with little, feels more exalted to give than to receive. It soars in a fusion of ardent love and is most precious when preserved in silence. A moment's peace shares in the richness of my happiness and knows the fullness of heaven. It descends like the dew, adds sparkle to the excellence of each new dawn. A moment's peace evokes from deep within deeds inspired by love. It arouses the beauty of the heart, enlightens the understanding, and dispels like smoke the seeds of grief. A moment's peace has the innocence of a child's smile. It kindles the light of benevolence, a gift of the beloved's love supreme. A moment's peace, like the newborn, cradled in its mother's arms, can and shall make this world beautiful. A moment's peace. London Carrier, thank you.
A moment's peace. Your dad would love that piece, Lanton.
Thank you.
We need more, particularly more men to write about the positive experiences they had with their fathers. We always hear about the deadbeat fathers. What about the ones that did it well?
Thank you.
I always tell, especially when I'm working with young ones that are having problems with parents, I go, you didn't get a good or bad parent. You got a parent that can do good and bad. Some just do more good than bad. So, I fall in that category. But it's funny, the older I get, the more I appreciate my father, the more I understand him. It's been, 6 years now in his passing. I think I have a greater understanding of who he was as a man as he's gone. So thank you for that reminder. Your words just carry such a power, Lanton, and that you want to call it spiritual message is I always tell some people, it's like, for him, it's like breathing. He can't help himself. That's who he is. If you don't like it, don't listen, but that spiritual message just comes through. So, it's like, I can imagine, if you, whatever your faith is, but God's sitting up there and he goes, hey, Jesus, come over here. Those two idiots we created, Richard and Lanton, are coming up next, right? And they're gonna speak truth, but in different ways. So,
You applaud me too much, my brother.
What's that?
You applaud me too much.
No, I applaud you because you deserve
man.
Yeah, I applaud you because you deserve it. It's just like, it's the same like I tell Ian to take it. I don't believe in just blowing smoke up people's butt just for the sake of it. But, that's one of the reasons I call this a recital. It's not an open mic. I invite people or invite people to reach out based on the feature that want to recite and to share,
Sanskrit, my teacher used to say, Nimitramatram. I am a mere instrument.
Yeah. And that we all are to ourselves and our humanity. Anyway, I like I said, I always love the fact that you're patient to sit and take in everyone's poetry and to offer critique or to offer encouragement through the sentencing and the wording you hear from their poetry. For those that are following, he always does that for every poet. So, it's an amazing gift. I can't do that. That's just your thing, but I appreciate it. So anyway,
thank you.
Like I always tell Ian, I'll tell you, just take the praise. Just take it.
Merci beaucoup.
You're welcome. Although I get it, because when the tables are turned, I do the same damn thing. So
Stop.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of today's show. And I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to the great Scott Karen. That was an amazing reading. You are such a delight, not just in your wording and your storytelling, but just in your infectious personality and that smile. I think if we can all put that smile in a bag, and whenever we need it during the course of the day, open it up and see the smile and hear the laughter, we can then go on and or get through whatever we're going through. But thank you for doing this. Like I said, first time I heard you, I was just, there's someone I want to get to know. And, we do have to have a one-on-one. I need to do a lot of one-on-one coffees these days. So, and I invite you to do the same thing. I'm sure you're already doing it, get to know each other, The beauty of coming together on Sundays like this, we don't have to agree. Like I said, Richard and I, we agree on a lot of things and some things we don't agree on, but can we talk respectfully? Can you remember, I see the divine in his eyes and he's not there trying to hurt me. We're just trying to share and understand. And it's through understanding and sharing, we can find a common ground. And if the common ground is just the fact of the acceptance that we're human, then it's worth it. We get too bogged down in the political nonsense going on today and forgetting I am speaking to a fellow human being. We don't have to agree politically. We don't have to agree religiously. We don't have to drop to our knees and pray to the same God. We could live in countries that were conquerors and colonizers, and other people were impressed. That's been part of our history from the moment we came out of the caves. What we're going through today is not new. What is perplexing me is that we keep forgetting that there's a human that we're either abusing or not abusing, but whatever it is, it's human. I see the divine in all eyes, not in some. So when we get together like this, it's not just the 5 minutes that we wait to recite. It's the 2.5 hours that we spend, and hopefully that this is a reminder that what we experience here, we can take and put it out into our circle. You want to talk about how to change the world? Change your internal circle. Inspire those by how you live. When we talk about ethics, ethics is something, it's not just a word, it's a practice. It is a practice. But ultimately, it's about power. And the only power I have is power over me. And I don't care what your shading is, what your religious beliefs is, what your political affiliation is. I care about the human that I see before me, because I see the divine in all human life. I see the divine in all life on this planet. And it's together we get to share this. We get to share the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful together. And that's been consistent throughout time. So go and enjoy Father's Day and all the other accolades that goes with this month. But most importantly, be gentle with yourself so you can be gentle with others. Thank you again for your support. Thank you, Karen. Thank you all poets, the supporting poets, for coming out. For those that just came to put your bum in the seat and give support, I thank you for this. I love you all. I'll see you next month when we get to feature Mr. D.
Gratitude to Raul, gratitude, very special gratitude. I've seen so many reactions from people who've been listening to words, and one woman all the way from China said her life was saved just by, she was on the verge of suicide, and just by reading a poem from someone in England, it helped her a lot and saved her life. So I just want you to know that we all servants really, and we serve in different ways. And the life tree is one, but it has many branches, and each branch is unique. And we are like flowers in the garden. You know, I'm a rose, you're a lily, and someone else is an orchid. We all have different fragrances and charisma. But I just want to say the work is quite significant that you do, and we all appreciate immensely.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you saying that. Let's just keep being the best versions of who we are and loving each other. That's all. And like, that's a great story. You never know how your words will affect someone.
Indeed.
So speak them, share your life. You're worthy of the spotlight. You are worthy of the spotlight. I'll see you guys next month. Be well. Peace.
Be well. Peace.